Well, I did not mean to start it that soon. Sorry about that, guys. So we've determined they fixed some of my router issues, but we've determined that my neighbor and I, our routers sometimes will get on the same channel and we get a lot of interference. So I don't know how well this is going to go because if his is running on the same channel, I have a tendency to lose a little bit of broadband wave. You know what bandwidth. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, it's down. I don't know if this is going to work. It's telling me I don't have. How's the signal look? Does it look clean? Or is it all shitty like Neves was the other day? Hello. Looks fine. Jumps a little bit. No, I don't want it to do that. That's my thing. I don't want it to look like that. Hey, budget knife guy. Budget guy the budget guy FKT. It's fine. It jumps a little bit. The budget guy's here. Aiden's here. Ethan's here. Walt's here. Beardo the weirdo is here. Nice to see you, Beardo. Ethan's here. Josiah's here. I think that's it. I think I hit everybody that's here so far. Not pixelated or anything. Guys, before we get into this, because there's only like 10 people here, I wanted to show you guys there is a sale going on Olight. If you follow my affiliate links, you can get on us. This is kind of a big sale there. It starts on the 13th and runs till the 14th. So I think it starts. Oh, it turned out okay, Aiden. So it starts, their big Christmas sale starts 8 p.m. on the 13th and ends at midnight on the 14th. If you look here, up to 30% off. They got some pretty cool stuff on here. I like some of these lights. Let's see. Can I make that bigger? There we go. I like some of this stuff. It's where's the one? I like this combo right here. I like laser pointers, sorry. But yeah, they've got a bunch of stuff on here, 30% off. I saw something on here that really got my attention. It was the Warrior 3 Seeker. Oh, I got one. I've got one of these. These things are great. At any rate, there you go. There's a big sale going on. So I have affiliate links down below. I would appreciate if you're going to purchase something anywhere on Amazon or Olight that use my affiliate links. I know people are like, oh, well, I already get the emails. Yeah, but if you want to support the channel, it's as simple as follow my affiliate links. So, and once again, no politics here. No politics. I don't want to have to deal with that in my, I'm moving. It's weird that the background doesn't move, but when I move the computer. So we're going to talk, we got 14 people here. We're going to talk about some weird knife designs. And it's funny because as I was posting up and making the thumbnail for tonight's video, I saw that Jared finally got to handle, oh, it's in my waistband. That's why it's not down there. Jared finally got to get a Norseman in. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Jared finally got to see a Norseman. So I was like, oh, that's cool. You should definitely try the shrimp. I don't know what we're talking about. Can you get a Knife Center or Blade HQ affiliate? Not right now. I'm working on it. But what I do have is I have SOG knives and I have another knife company down below. I'm going to get that one put in. I just got notification of that, like 2 days ago via email, and I just haven't added it in. What are we talking about? Talking about shrimp and stuff in the background. Am I going to buy the O knife? I already have an O knife. You guys saw it. I have the Beagle. They sent me one. I'm an affiliate. Yeah, but I'm just curious what's going on in my chat. Erwin's here. So at any rate, like I was saying, we're going to talk about some unique blade shapes because like a lot of people, a lot of people see knives and they're like, oh, I don't understand that blade shape or why somebody would want that. I've been known to say that from time to time, but you know, there's purposes behind all of it. And if you really want to see a unique blade shape, go watch the Hoof GP. I hadn't even thought about it in years, but we used to have hoof knives because, well, we had a farm and we had cattle, and you have to trim back cattle's hoofs every once in a while, especially if they spend a lot of time on concrete. It gets too hard and everything. You got to get that overburdened horn. If they're outside and they're walking around on the proper like dirt and things like that and grass, typically it's not as bad. I mean, you still have to trim them to make sure there's proper. Oh, you want your ding-a-ling? Jesus Christ. So, a hoof knife is a very distinct shape. It has a hook on one end for you to be able to get in and clean around certain areas like ulcerations, things like that. But typically they're chisel ground. And I was going to explain chisel grinds first because that's like one of the first ones that comes to mind as a unique blade shape. And people are like, oh, why the chisel grind and things like that. Well, there's a reason for most of these blade grinds and blade shapes and things like that. Like, where did it go? So we're talking about chisels right now. So a chisel ground knife, this is a woodworking knife. This is a Japanese kiridashi. It's used for marking wood, and because you can get a good clean line right up against a ruler. So if you have a flat edge, that's another good thing. You can get that right up against, and you can go across and keep a good clean line because you can keep the back side of that blade up against your straight edge and mark your wood with a nice clean line. But the other thing about these are, I don't know if you guys know this, when you're using a V-ground blade, they have a tendency to want to, once you start to cut in, they have a tendency to just keep wanting to dig in deeper. With a flat chisel blade, you have that flat side that's not actually like causing more drag and dragging in. You can maintain a nice clean depth and it doesn't want to drag further if you're careful. So chisel grind blades are really good for fine detail cutting and things like that. I'm not making any knives right now, Beardo. There was a bunch for sale and I ran out of materials and I don't have money to order materials. So I don't know if there's going to be any more knives. The price of steel right now makes it almost prohibitively expensive for me to make you a knife. But there's the answer to that right now. It's kind of expensive and I don't have any of the stuff here that I need to do a lot of the work. So I would have to buy a whole nother set of grinders. We're not going to get into that. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about me making you a knife. You want to try and get me to make you a knife, email me or call me. But at any rate, specific blade shapes come in handy for different things. And, you know, like I said, hoof knife, woodworking knives, all that other stuff. So when you look at a knife, a lot of us have a tendency to just look at a knife and try to compare it to like how, you know, the knives that we use on our daily basis. Like, this is a good all around knife. I really do like this. It just happens to spend a lot of time in my pocket. So I'm showing you right now. But, you know, for a lot of the things that we do on a day-to-day, that might not be the knife you need. And so there's a whole bunch of different stuff. And I was just going to kind of show you guys some cool blade shapes, and then we can talk about some other stuff. So, you know, some people are like, why would you want a blade with a recurve? Well, when you have a curved blade, you've basically maximized the available cutting surface. So this one doesn't have a huge recurve, but it has a little bit of one. So that area right there where it comes in, you've multiplied the surface area, the cutting surface of that knife. So the big thing about that is it allows you to get more material in the bite of that. So when you're cutting, that material that you start cutting here, it gets forced into that belly right there, and it maximizes that cutting potential. And that's kind of the same thing that happens with a traditional Tonto. Well, not really. No, I mean, you do kind of get that with the Tonto, but like not really. But these definitely maximize your cutting surface. I'm trying to think of a good comparison. So other recurve blades come in handy for other purposes. This is a really good knife for self-defense, the karambit. So this is that karambit. But curves are great for stripping wire. I imagine they are. The Cold Steel Spartan, which is put away in the inside the house, huge big recurved belly on it, and that, I mean, really gets you, maximizes your cutting potential, maximizes your cutting surface, because a curve has more of a radius area, so that instead of a straight line, it travels in further. So figure you're maximizing it. These are designed for self-defense. These are designed to be held in this fashion, pretty much in a reverse grip as a slash, and they work incredibly good for that. Now, is this going to be a knife that you would carry for day-to-day tasks? No. I love this knife because it just looks unique and interesting, and it's pretty comfortable. It's the best karambit I've ever handled. But karambits are typically used for self-defense purposes. The karambit style is very popular for big wire. Very popular for big wire stripping. Yeah, big wire stripping, like like people-size wire. So like I was saying, so we look at these knives, and I do it too. That you see these knives and you immediately think, who would use that? Why is that even like that? And a lot of times it comes back to those knives were designed for a specific purpose, and that other people found them useful for a lot of purposes. Like a sheep's foot blade is really good in a maritime setting for a couple of reasons. A lot of times maritime setting, you're wanting to get up under something and cut it, but you don't want something piercing, and a safety thing, you're on a ship, the ship's rolling. That's the typical reason why we always had like a sheep's foot style blade, was if the ship takes a roll, it's much less chance you're going to hurt yourself. So yes, there's a sub brand for Cobalt with them. I don't think there is. Cobalt, the tool brand. So what's some of you guys kind of pop in what you guys think some of the weirder blade shapes are? I have some more and we'll look at, but what are the ones you guys think of as unusual blade shapes? Because there's some ones out there, and there's some that I don't agree with the nomenclature, like a reverse Tonto. Well, a reverse Tonto is, you really want to know the truth? A reverse Tonto is this. It's a sheep's cliff, which is a modified Warncliffe or sheep's foot. A Tonto typically has got, well, some sort of a wider spot or a thicker spot, or in the case of like an Americanized Tonto, you have a secondary point. And that secondary point, boy, Lynn Thompson really did a good job of selling these, because that secondary point, as he would say, was great for like a snap cut, which he's not wrong. Like, to tell you the truth, if you're going to study the techniques and things of knife fighting, a snap cut, just a quick snap with a straight blade, yeah, you'll get a cut on the material. But with something like that, where you have a secondary point that breaks that surface tension of the material you're cutting into, a quick snap cut is much more effective with something like this. Now, this is a recurve Tonto. It's not a true Americanized Tonto. So I love these. It just sounds cooler. Man, I love these stupid aggressive Tontos like the Hellfire LOL. And then reverse Tonto for life. It sounds cooler. Yeah, but I mean, basically, the spot where some people say that this, where'd it go? Some people call this a reverse Tonto. I would much rather say that this is closer to being a true Tonto than Tanto, if you want to say it so that it doesn't sound as though I'm using a racial epithet. This is closer to what I would expect from maybe a clipped Tonto or something like that, because you have a nice straight blade and it comes up to an abrupt point, and this is that 940. But in all actuality, this is just kind of just a modified clip point. Favorite blade shape is reverse cowboy. It's a reverse 940, 940, 940. I love my American Tontos for delicate cuts. The second point digs in and cuts with little pressure. Yeah, but I would, to tell you the truth, honestly, if I was doing some detail cutting, I would want something with I don't even have one of my knife designs. Hang on a second, I've got one. Right here, I would prefer something. I don't like using that forward tip. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, you can use that for doing some detail cut work. I would rather have something where I can get up behind the tip like this and have better control for that purpose. And like I said, that's one of the things that I thought about when I designed this, with it not being too long and things like that. I had a cool idea for a shark lock, make it look more like the Axis, but keep the same action of the shark lock and call it the hammerhead, because it sticks out sideways like a hammerhead. I can see that, but I mean, if you want to know the truth, the shark lock is basically like an Axis lock. It's just a better version of it. How much easier it is to sharpen Americanized Tontos? I don't think it is. I actually find it to be a pain in the butt to marry those two angles up. So, you know, there's just a lot of different blade shapes for a lot of different purposes. And guys, I'm only going to run this for an hour because, well, I have my daughter wanting to FaceTime with me a little bit later. So I don't like sharpening them. A lot of times I like sharpening them if they're well done. I did a couple knives today that were pretty well done. And then I did a couple more that were Americanized Tontos that were just horrible. And it depends. The ease of resharpening depends on how well it was done at the factory. If those angles are off and the marriage points for that forward point is off, then you have a lot of work cut out for yourself to maintain it. You're right. It is two straight edges. And I have one around here. I have a cold steel. I have a cold steel Tonto that got here, but like, they can be a pain in the ass, especially for somebody that's not real good at sharpening. That's why I'm not going to lie to you. That's one of the best things about like a Wharncliffe or a sheep's foot is you got a fairly straight edge. There's not a lot of movement, because what happens a lot of times is people, like in that curve, they want to lift their elbow and then they get out of alignment and the angle changes. And then you wind up with a really blunted, thick tip. I know there's going to be something in the comments with a blunted, thick tip at the very front. And then it comes back to your back. Don't say that. I run a sharpening service. It takes him forever to sharpen stuff. It's not how this works. QSP Penguin is a Wharncliffe. I have one on the way. I would say that the QSP Penguin is more of a sheep's foot. Now, Wharncliffe typically, okay, so the difference between a sheep's foot and a Wharncliffe is typically there's much more of a narrow taper down to this. This is more of a Wharncliffe than a sheep's foot. Sheep's foot has a tendency to come down. I don't have one. Well, kind of. A sheep's foot has a tendency to just come down and round down a lot more than a Wharncliffe. I know. But it's still, I mean, you're arguing semantics. It's still, a sheep's foot is a little bit different design. It's not 100% a Wharncliffe. So, and I did a whole video about the history of Wharncliffe and sheep's foot knives back to the Duke of Wharncliffe and stuff like that. As is the lamb's foot, and so is the sheep's cliff and all these things. But I mean, you know, it goes back to like, how far do you want to take it? They're all basically the same shape. There's only a few actual blade shapes, to tell you the truth. Like even this, like people are like, oh, that's such a cool, what do you call it? They call it the Spartan blade. It's just two Tontos. That is two Microtech Tonto blades married at the back to make a double-edged out the front Spartan blade shape. Now I like this. If you want something to puncture with, this is definitely blade. So, yeah, I made my cold steel Tonto a thin belly blade on the Mary points on purpose. I've had people that ask for it. As a matter of fact, I just did that to a custom knife factory knife in from a customer for sharpening. And he was like, okay, that whole point, he's like, can you just round that over? And I'm like, yeah, because he's like, on that one, it was inconsistent anyway. And it didn't match the aesthetics of the knife for him. And so I took that one-off custom knife factory, extremely expensive knife and completely changed, not completely changed, but basically changed the blade shape. What about those weird, what is it? What about those weird titanium strider looking knives? You would have to tell me and I can pull one up because I fixed my sharing thing. I don't use a sharpening system. I freehand sharpen. That's how I stabbed myself. I've done a bunch of videos about it. And thank you for joining the memberships, by the way, Matthew Clay. I appreciate it. Yeah, a continuous edge was more what he was looking for. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with this dog. What do you want? Open, just come out. Come. You don't have to sit there and look at me. You're loud out here. Fucking retard. Go lay down. That doesn't mean I want you in my lap. Kind of go lay down. Go. Please get out of my lap. Wanted a continuous edge. I dream to own a Strider. I've owned a Strider and I sold it. I would much rather own this, to tell you the truth. I had a custom Strider. I've had actual other Striders. Like I had a production Strider that was here for a while. And I just don't see it being, I mean, they're okay knives, but they're just not as great as I would want them to be. Nightmare Grind. Yeah, I had a Nightmare Grind. Can you post a link? I don't know, Beardo. Are you an affiliate? Or I mean, are you a moderator? Because if you're not a moderator, then no. I love the thick tip insert joke here. I bet you do. I bet you do. So let's see here. Oh, I can't look at that though. I can't pull that up. I can't pull that up from here. So I can't even share it. So can I copy it? I can't even copy it. So it did me no good. What's up, Shane? Sugar Shane. But there's some definite unique blade shapes out there, like this S-shaped blade that Sal Glesser came up with for the Civilian, and then later the Matriarch 2. And the Matriarch 2 is basically just, I talked about it in the video today, but so that you guys, if you guys didn't know, the Civilian is a relatively expensive knife. It's pretty expensive. You know, it's a pretty expensive knife. And what they did was the South African government, I think the Minister of Law Enforcement, I forget how it was written, but they reached out to Spyderco and were like, hey, can you make a more affordable version of this? Because there were so many attacks in South Africa on women, and they wanted to come up with something that women could carry that required no training, could still be used very well for self-defense. And this S shape is great because you have this area with this belly right here that starts to dig in, and then it forces it down into this. All the material that you're cutting into then gets forced as you're continuing that cut into this big area here. And that will lay a devastating cut on whatever you're cutting or whoever. So, what is this? I use the Wicked Edge, but I love the 940 tip. For me, it's a little difficult to get perfect. I don't like fixtured systems. They always wind up like people send me knives like, oh, like you don't have to like, don't worry about sharpening it. the tip is fine and all this. And I'm like, well, I'm going to sharpen it because I used it. And I'm like, and the tip is not fine because every person that's ever sent me a knife that they've sharpened on a fixtured system, that tip is a little rounded over. And then I have to correct that because you can slide the stone off of the knife. Yeah, go sub to Shane. So Shane is following you. This will save me. Well, let's see here. Let me ring that. Ring that bell. So it's going to save you. It's going to save you from spending an additional $4.99. That would have just been the shipping anyway. Yours wasn't bad on the Pit Boss. Use a KME. Yeah, but the problem is, like, I don't care what system you're using. If the stone is above and you don't have like the view of from above, like when you're hand sharpening from above, you can see where the tip of that knife is the entire travel of the stone, and you know when to stop. If you're working on it from above, even me, as many knives as I've sharpened, when I used the Edge Pro, that's one of the reasons I got rid of my Edge Pro. I continually would do that. And then I would have to go back, and a knife that I had just sharpened, I would have to go back, even as careful as I could be. I would have to go back and hand sharpen that knife to align the tip. So I'm not saying you can't do a good job on it, but I think people just try to go too fast, especially you see these guys on a wicked edge. You're like, oh, I can go like this. I can go like this. I can go like this. And I'm like, yeah, your fast isn't always better. And you're sharpening the knife so that your striations go this way, as opposed to going the natural cutting route of what you would want. So that saw blade is the best way to cut with a wicked edge knife is to cut like that, as opposed to draw cutting, which is the way most people cut. Breeze Ratchford is here. If I'm dreaming, I wanted the Strider Valkyrie fixed blade, but just Strider would be a gem to me, and I don't want to get the clone. Yeah, I don't want anybody to get clone. I know what you mean. They try to be fast and screw it up. I do it for myself, so I take my time. How is that so expensive? What are you talking about? How is what so expensive? Are you talking about that Dwayne Dwyer? I wish I could copy this. I wish I could copy that. OSS lapel knife. You know what I always wanted? I always wanted one of those triangular OSS daggers. And it's all it was for letting the air out of somebody. I always wanted one of those. I thought those were pretty cool. They used to sell them in one of the magazines. Can you explain the wicked edge system again? Okay, so when you're sharpening freehand, as you're pulling the knife to you and pulling it away, you're forming angled striations that follow the path of the blade. So if you look at how that's going, the striations are going this way. So it's like a single directional saw blade, because those little striations are what do the cutting. And if you're making the striations go this way, it's going to cut more effectively, push this way. But when you're doing a wicked edge, everybody starts to heel and works to the front. And so those stones are leaving striations that are going this way or this way. I prefer that angled thing. It just makes the knife cut better that way. I refuse to sharpen on belts. That's the best way to, like, the Work Sharp, that powered system. That is the dumbest thing they've ever sold. Do you know how many people have burnt up their, my phone's on pause. I can't, I'm trying to maximize the amount of Wi-Fi I've got on this. My phone is not connected. So the precision adjust allows you to turn the platform as you sharpen and see the stone, lapping, film, etc. is on the blade. But then to somebody who's like sharpen on belts, I hate that belt, that powered Work Sharp system. I have seen so many people screw up their knives and burn out the temper with those, because even on a good controlled grinder with a power control and a speed controller, you will still burn up the edge if you let your belt get too worn, if you get your speed too high, you apply too much pressure, things like that. You don't use enough water. It just burns up an edge. And then you've ruined the temper and it won't hold that edge. So I'm adamantly opposed to anyone using a powered sharpening system. I don't care if it's a work sharp. I don't care if it's a professional knife grinder. The only thing I ever did when I would make a knife, I would put that initial edge on with a belt, and then I would take that just as a guide, and I would take all that material off and resharpen it by hand. Any knife I made, except for a couple of the couple of exceptions are, well, the one exception is the little Kiridashi, but I still basically did that because I would use a leather power strop on a super low setting with some abrasive compound, and I would take that forward edge back off again. Sean Bryant, what happened here? Sean Bryant, I've found that if I keep my finger on the tip of the blade, it helps feel where the stone is on a fixtured system. Yeah, I personally don't like fixtured systems. I think that they give people a false sense of I can do any knife, and then they get into it and they find out that they can't. And I'm not, and then people are like, oh, well, if this angle's good, this angle will be better, and then this angle will be the best. And the next thing you know, they're sending me a knife like, I fucked this knife all up. Like, I really, really need you to fix this. I'm not going to lie. Wicked Edge has made me so much more money on sharpening because the fact is people will get those and then think they can sharpen anything and then realize that they just screwed up a knife. Most of the time it's something like ultra expensive. Like, where'd I put it? I can't tell you how many people I've seen screw these up by using a Wicked Edge or an Edge Pro, and then get into it and realize I can't do this. I have screwed this up or used the wrong stones and things like that. And then you have to account for, like, if you're using the Edge Pro aluminum oxide stones, those stones are all different in thickness. The diamond plates, even with the consistency you get with those diamond plates, they're still a little off from time to time. I was promised unique blade shapes. The only thing, see, is the longest pause ever I got. We're talking about blade shapes. We're getting ready to talk about a couple more. I didn't promise anything. I said, let's talk about it. But we follow what the comments say. For beginners, not sure, the grinding attachment is what I used. The original is dog crap. Aiden's here. Want to talk about rounding tips? The workshop is horrible with tips. Well, in that one, you're kind of limited. Yeah, yes, Polly. Look, you're terrible to look at. No one invited you. You got Pennywise eyes. Some people be silly. Still haven't screwed up a knife with my workshop. Well, that's good for you. I'm just saying, like, it's easy to do. I've seen some people that use that powered work sharp system, and it looks like they use the old. You remember the sharpener? It used to be on the backside of can openers, and no one ever used it. Then your grandmother used it one time, and then your mom's good kitchen knife went like this because it would through the thing. And that's and that bird nest shit on your face. Thanks, Polly. Hey, everybody, just stopped in for a second. Gotta crash soon. Crash out soon. I'm tired AF. Me too. AIDS and let's see here. What do we got? Thanks. You did. Nah. Never a belt system. No, I refused to. Like I said, I didn't even like when I was making knives to set the initial edge on the belt. But it was a lot easier on my stones just to take off some of the big perm. What's up with the howls? It's just, I've worn this hat in every video I've put up pretty much. And I was like, hey, let's just use it as a background. Do you not like it? Got some narrow stones from Gritomatic on your recommendation. I actually think that I think I recommended the Edge Pro narrow ones, but you know, hey. Well, you just stole from Eric and John Grimsmo, so way to go. Way to pay someone to steal someone's intellectual property. I hate that. I hate the clones. I hate the knockoffs. I hate all that stuff. Those can opener sharpenings were great for making serrations. They were. They really were. They would take a regular knife and turn it into a big, broad, scalloped blade. So there's some other unique blade shapes out there, and I only got one more. Sometimes they're not. That's why you save. It took me 5 years to get this knife. I saved for 5 years. If you're not willing to like pay for the maker for what it is, and I know people disagree with that, but I'm just saying, like, I won't buy a fake. I will just save. Like I said, I saved for 5 years to get this. Things would come up. I'd have to use some of that money. I'd save again. I had to save. It's just, I would much rather save and get it when I can get it and get the real deal, because I've got those Chinese, I've had some of those Chinese knockoffs come in. They're not in AL4V titanium. They're not in the right steel. It's definitely not M390, because I ground one into dust in like 5 minutes on a worn 120 grit belt. Should not ever happen on good hardened M390. So you may have something that appears to be and looks a lot like a Norseman or another knife, but you're not getting the steel, you're not getting the quality, you're not getting the proper heat treat, you're not getting the materials. Like, that's fine if that's how you want to carry it. But like I said, I personally think that's, fuck those companies that do that. Oh, Javon, what's going on, Mr. Evans? TGIF. Well, for me, it really doesn't matter. Every day is just another day. As a matter of fact, I have not filmed anything I intended to film for the last couple of days because I had a bunch of stuff come in for sharpening, and I had a guy come in and bring some stuff. But I mean, sometimes it's not just blade shape. There, Breeze, there's an interesting one for you. This is blade grind. So this doesn't have a distal taper. So you could kind of consider this a unique blade shape, because typically a knife will go all the way to and become more slender as you get towards the tip. That's called a distal taper. And this doesn't have that. In lieu of a distal taper, they just run that grind all the way down to account for that. And that gives you a really, really super strong blade and tip. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's like having a regular blade that comes down and then almost like a Scandi at the very front. These can be a pain to sharpen and everything. But as you can see, I already did sharpen it and it looks good. But you know, like I said, there's so many unique blade shapes out there that Aiden. So there's so many unique blade shapes out there, and they all wind up being useful in some way beyond what we usually think of. Like like I've said, I see these knives and I'm like, wow, that is such a weird blade shape. And then you find out like what it was used for. You know, what was the purpose of that blade? And I find that interesting. And that's one of the things I've started doing lately is I'll see a unique knife, weird knife, and I'll find out like the blade style. And I'll be like, okay, well, what was it for? What would you use that for? Like, have you ever seen the leatherworking knives? I had never really seen that. I never paid much attention to leatherworking. And they have some really unique knives that are almost like they're like curved. They look like the Ulu is what they look like. And they use them for cutting leather and materials and things like that. And I was like, oh, that's really, really interesting. And like I said, the Ulu was used for like skinning and cutting. A lot of people now use them for chopping their herbs on the counter because they can rock it back and forth. I was a budget knife guy. Got a Chris Reeves knockoff from the box of Love Them Knives. I want to break the thing, but it's durable. Why did LTK have fakes? Was he giving them away? Did you know it was a fake and he was selling it? Because I don't dig that either. There was another Wavester like 76. Like, he would do reviews of knives. Just be like, oh, you can get this and it's just as good. And I'm like, I've had both in hand and I'm going to disagree with you. What's my opinion on K390? I have not gotten to use it yet. It's actually, no, I did get to I had a knife in K390 and I sharpened it. But I didn't get to use it. So, I mean, I don't, to tell you the truth, I honestly don't remember. I remember talking about it in a video, but it was unremarkable. it was kind of unremarkable, so I didn't really think anything about it. Now, I will say that the S45 VN is really, really good. So I don't know. I know that there's a K390. Now I do know that there's you know, you have M390. There is an M395 now, I believe. There's an M395 now. I remember we were talking about it with some people up at Crane's Cutlery, and it's like the new version of M390. I have no. Well, let's look it up. S390 steel. S390 steel. S390 micro clean. It is Bowler's newest powdered metallurgy. Give me a second. I'm gonna try and pull it up so we can look at it here. Hang on a second. Let me share this screen. I don't know. I haven't handled MagnaCut yet. I mean, I've handled the knives in MagnaCut, but I haven't sharpened anything or anything like that in MagnaCut yet. So let's share the screen. Chrome tab, S390 micro clean is this class is our PM steel with many possible spiral. Oh, it's another one of their. So I guarantee this is another one of their steels that they designed for the plastic cutting industry. I mean, most of their steels are compressive strength, grindability, toughness, wear resistance, edge stability. Tough, hardenable, toughness, wear resistance, edge stability. It's carbon, silica, manganese, chromium, molybdenum, vanadium. What's the W? I can't remember. Cobalt. Guys, what's W? What's W on the chart? I can't remember. I'm looking it up. Tungsten. So it's tungsten. W is tungsten. I couldn't remember. It's tungsten. So what you're looking at is vanadium, tungsten, and cobalt. So I would imagine this is kind of like their answer. If you don't know the truth, you see that much when you see like 10, chemical composition 10% of 10% of tungsten. That's going to be really similar to Maximet or Rex 121. So I don't know. No. I mean, I could, but it's not going to be great. The thing with tungsten is even when you try real hard, tungsten doesn't like to take a nice, crisp, clean edge. Oh, I see it now. Well, I was looking it up. If you sneed me, you're going to sneed me something like that would be a dream to sharpen. So you guys, I've sharpened Maximet. Like everybody has this misconception, oh, Mike can't sharpen Maximet. I have sharpened Maximet. Once I got all my diamond stones and stuff, I have sharpened Maximet. The problem is it eats your shit up. And so it just doesn't make sense financially for me to do it. If I do it, you got to pay a lot. Like there would be no discount for this steel or now what's K390? Let's go ahead and look up K390 steel. 20 CV. I sharpen 20 CV all the time. This is 20 CV and M390 are basically this is M390. I sharpened this yesterday. 20 CV is not that hard to sharpen, actually, to tell you the truth. I sharpen tons of knives in 20 CV. Most of the knives I made were in 20 CV, all but a few. I'm curious about the K390. K390 steel. K390 steel. K390. Can you guys still see this? There we go. So let's see here. Uncanny blade material, K390 bolt. Let's see what's the. Let me see here. I want to see the small carbide size. I'll have to look it up some other time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this feed looking up. Does the Edge Pro Diamond Stones? What are you asking here? I'm at a loss here. Edge Pro Diamond Stones, all right on Maximet. They do okay, but like I said, it wears them out. So the Diamond Matrix stones actually wear. They will belly, they'll load like water stones. They're not like diamond plates. Diamond plates will do a lot better on Maximet, but I'm not a fan of the edge that the diamond plates leave. On Maximet, I would say probably a 600 grit edge would be about great. So, I mean, I have the stones for that. I have the diamond plates for that, but I don't like the production knives in Maximet. They're too thick, and I've never seen one of the production ones that came to me real sharp, even out of the box. And I was like, you know, it seems like you're giving up a lot for a steel. And then to tell you the truth, like, do you want something that is so difficult to sharpen that you can't sharpen? Like if you're out camping, yes, Maximet will stay sharp for a very long time. But if something happens, like, do you want to have to haul all this stuff with you to sharpen Maximet or Rex 121? I don't. So, I mean, like you said, oh, well, it'll hold an edge for a really long time. That's great. But I would prefer to have a knife that doesn't hold its edge as long and have it be more maintenanceable, in my opinion. They're apex really rough. That's what I was saying. They're like 80. The last one I saw looked like it was like an 80 grit edge. No joke. The last Maximet blade I saw was like 80 grit. So it's not great. Winston, your knife showed up. I need you to text me again so that I've got all your information. I haven't even opened it yet, but it just showed up today. So Forrest says, I've wondered about wear and tear on stones from some of these super steels. A lot of the super steels, you're fine. Even like people argue with me, but even my aluminum oxide stones that I have, the really nice ones, they do fine on most of the steels because you're looking at, you know, aluminum oxide is basically sapphire. If you go and look at it, the compound that makes up a sapphire is aluminum oxide. So you basically have sapphires, which are a 9 out of 10 on the Mohs hardness scale. Most of the carbides in your steels are 8, 8.5. There are some that are 9. I'm not going to lie. There are some that you need diamonds to cut. Tungsten carbides that are in some of your steels, and those titanium carbides that are in some of these other steels as well. You want a diamond stone for that. I'm not saying that like, oh, you can do everything with aluminum oxide stones. The majority of your super steels, yeah, you can. And people are like, oh, you're going to get carbide tear out because aluminum oxide isn't hard enough to cut it. And I was like, you know, vanadium carbides are about an 8 on the Mohs hardness scale. The aluminum oxide is a 9, diamonds are a 10. So yes, you still are cutting this. As much as people are welcome to their opinions, I'm telling you, I looked it up and it's a true statement. There are some exceptions to that, titanium carbides and things like that you would get in like Maximet and Rex 121. Yeah, you definitely absolutely need a diamond to cut those because they're a 9. It's like trying to sharpen a piece of glass with a piece of glass. They're the same hardness. You're not going to get anywhere. You're swimming uphill. What is this? Hi there, Aiden. I've been stalking and listening while I work on some hanks. You make custom hanks? Spyderco ceramic or Sharpening glass ceramic. The Sharpening glass stones are different. You get a different feel. The Sharpening stones are, it's hard to explain it. It's like they're not fired. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like a Sharpening gives you pretty much the same feedback you get from most water stones. But like a Spyderco ceramic, it's like glass. There is no feedback and there's no, the other thing is that the stones kind of have a tendency to hold the angle because the bite of the stone is there and it holds that angle. And you actually are able to maintain that angle a lot more easily on a Sharpening stone than you are on a Spyderco stone. Spyderco stone is super slippery and your blade will, like your bevel will want to just slip and slide on it if you're not real careful. And that can lead to problems. It leads you to getting your edge too far up and then you just strip your edge off and there's just, you wind up dulling your knife on it. So, I mean, for a beginning sharpener, I would say if you want one of Sharpening, I use my Spyderco ultrafine ceramic for a lot of stuff. I will say if you get to where you're sharpening well on some, if you're doing a good job on a Spyderco ceramic, you're going to do a great job on any other stone. It's just all there is to it. Their medium stones and their fine stones aren't as bad, but that ultra fine, it's slicker than snot on a freaking doorknob. I'm telling you right now, it's slippery. What is this, patina? Might need to send you my Terrain 360. So I talked with Mike, the owner of the company, and he said it's really not that hard to sharpen. It's like sharpening anything else. Nico bought one at the show in Terravantium, and I was like, well, I'm going to be interested in sharpening it. And he goes, you don't need anything special. He's like, it's not, it's not anything that you have to do anything special with. He's like, it's just a non-ferrous material. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's what is it, vitrified cobalt or something like that too. But they're like, if you're able to sharpen most knives, you should be able to sharpen that. I am curious though about what kind of edge it takes because I haven't sharpened one yet. Nico bought one at the store at the show, and I haven't sharpened it yet. So I'm just kind of curious. So dendritic cobalt, that's what it is, not vitrified cobalt, dendritic cobalt. It is an attractive, oh, Zach stuff. What's up, Zach? Zach was on Wednesday. I was trying to have a guest tonight and it just did not work out. I was actually going to do a podcast and I realized that the message I had sent earlier in the week never went. You know how sometimes you get that text message that goes out and it sits there and you don't realize that it's got the little exclamation point and shit. And you're like, oh no. I was trying to get a hold of Bobby DeMarco over at the Knife Junkie, and I sent him a request and it never went. I got it undelivered, but you know, I have two phone numbers now because I have the business phone and I have my personal phone, and I sent it to him from my business phone. And I was like, I didn't realize it didn't go because I don't carry that. It sits plugged in out here in the garage. And so I picked it up today and I was like, oh, I should see if I was like, oh no, it didn't go. So I deleted it and I sent Bobby a new one. He just could not come today. I have not got, I'm waiting. We'll keep going. My daughter had to go. My daughter and my wife went to the base today in southern Japan to get some stuff that they needed, because they're going to be there for almost another month. And so my daughter wanted to FaceTime me, but I told her I would stop this so she could, but she hasn't sent me a request yet. So he said, keep it low grit. It doesn't like an acute edge. You mentioned stopping it right before forming a burr. Stopping right before forming a burr. Okay, interesting. Well, if you send it to me, I'll play around. I'll probably do a video about it. Maybe I'll do a premium tier sharpening tutorial, exotic steels. I got something in that typically, because I'm going to try and get back into getting people to send me straight razors and stuff like that. Like I'm going to try and get a hold of some of these online vendors and say, hey, I will sharpen these straight razors for you so you can sell them as actual shave ready, not screwed up. And people get them and then they get a bad taste with shaving with a straight razor. So what I got it's called a treating stone or a Naguda stone. It's a stone that you use to form the slurry a little faster. And so it's an abrasive stone that breaks down, and it breaks down the top layer of the stone. And so basically you start with the mud. So if you're using actual water stones, you want that mud to form and leave it on there. You don't want to wipe that off. And that's what does the cutting. And that stone allows you to have that set up earlier. And I'm gonna get my water stones out. I'm gonna get them ready, and I'm gonna film a video about prepping water stones with a Naguda stone. There's other ways to do it as well. So I already have a stone ready to kind of show you what I'm talking about. I already set it up. I'm gonna try and film it this weekend. For those of you guys that are premium tier members, I'm gonna do another quick stone tutorial, and then we're gonna try and do a couple other videos this weekend. For the premium tier guys. I have been very neglectful of my premium tier members. They do not make them anymore. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad. I bought another one. Let me show you. I'll show you exactly why I don't recommend the ones with bases. So this, I just recently got. I have not had this all that long. I found one. So this is an 8,000 grit Naniwa Superstone. And it's going to be hard to show you because it's going to want to show. Can you see these cracks? You can't see the cracks. Let me turn the background off for a second so you can see the cracks. Virtual background, none. So can you see those cracks that form? Every one of these ones I have with a base always forms these cracks. What happens is these stones deform after you use them. I've had this longer than I've had any other Naniwa stone. And this one has not cracked. You know why? It's not locked to a base. It allowed it to bow a little bit. So I don't care if the stone is bowed as long as the surface on top is flat. This, I spent a good bit of money on. And the second you wet them and stuff, and then they dry out, they crack. So that's one of the things that you've got to be careful about is I kind of understand why they went away from the bases. This one got to a point actually where it started to crack here. So I spent a good bit of money on this 8,000 grit stone that I have to really, really take care of treating in this area. So it's nice and flat when I start. Been neglecting you haven't won any giveaways. Oh yeah, guys, the giveaway. I'm going to do an actual announcement, but since we got a couple minutes, I have the knife picked out for the January giveaway. It's over here. This was sent to me to do as a giveaway from here. Let's turn this back. Let's turn this background back on. Virtual background. Actually, because these shiny knives sometimes, let's leave that off for a second, especially with this being in jade. So this is that jade. This is the Cazador. This is that Cazador. I'm giving this away to the premium and baseline tier members for this month. How do I like Striders? Tungsten Carbide. I like that. It's Kirby from the video games. I mean, I owned a full custom Strider. I've had several Striders in and out that are really good. I mean, some of them are good, some of them are bad. They have a tendency to have lock stick. I mean, they have a tendency to have lock stick to the point where you have to use a screwdriver with some electrical tape on to pop the lock bar where it's loose. But I mean, I will tell you that Mick is really good about if something's wrong with one, he'll take care of it. And Mick is just generally a good guy. I mean, I know the whole stolen valor thing, and I should probably be upset about it. But the fact is, you get to meet Mick, and you're like, you know what? I don't fucking care. He's a fucking funny dude, and he is a lot of fun. He really is a lot of fun. So, let me get this virtual background back up. I don't want to see just. Let's go with this. Let's go to Disneyland. You guys want to go to Disneyland tonight? There we go. Yeah, it's not that you've won twice. It's that you won twice, and I had to then, like 3 other times, kick you out of the running because top knife for life. I've done this a bunch of times. If you go and find some of my podcasts, the knife that I would have to say that would be now, the caveat is like I'd have to be able to buy another one. But if I was told that I could only purchase one knife for the rest of my life and I could replace it with the exact same knife, it would be a Mora Companion. That's the one. I was trying to remember which Mora it was. The Mora Companion, because the blade steel is really good. They're like $13. They cut forever. They cut so well. They hold an edge really well. They're really good. And you're looking at a between $12 and $20 knife. So no, you have not. But you were disqualified because you had basically won so many times. Like you won like a general giveaway. You won like 2 of the things. Like you won a bunch of stuff. I think you've actually won 3 times, Beardo, to tell you the truth. So yeah, the Oxwork store. So yeah, this is, those Carvive Sandrick knives are 77 on the Mohs scale. Mohs scale only goes to 10. Big Perm, I think you're making stuff up. I have not gotten to see any of the BPS bushcraft knives. I have not gotten to see any of those. So I don't know what they're all about. I will tell you that if I had to pick a bushcraft knife, like if I just have a bushcraft knife and price wasn't an option, because that's why I picked the Mora Companion. Like that is when you're talking bang for your buck, the Mora Companion is it. But if I was going with a bushcraft knife and money was no option, I can honestly say I have not seen anyone do bushcraft better than Bark River knives. I mean, functional sheath, great blade shapes, great handles for doing so much. Like that is the thing with knives. Knives are a tool, and then people are like, are you always picking on like the pocket clip drives you nuts? I was like, knives are a tool, and if a tool is uncomfortable, you're not going to use it, and then it becomes a hindrance as opposed to a benefit. And so if you've got something that's uncomfortable, I'm much less inclined to use it. So if you're going to be in a situation where you're doing a lot of work outside and you want a tool that is comfortable, Bark River knives are the way to. You could use this all day with zero fatigue. It is just about perfect, and it disappears. It has an invisible blade. I don't know if you guys can see that. It just disappears. So it's just like, I say the Mora Companion because just the all-around value bang for your buck. That's why. But like I said, if you're wanting something that is like, I want the best tool out there for bushcraft, that's it. Bark River knives, any of the Bark River knives. Oh yeah, that's true. You did sell your whole collection. Well, I mean, you're in the running. And like I said, I'm giving this one away. I still haven't sent Metalman Sean's knife off yet. 7.7. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So 7.7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Aluminum oxide stones are a 9 out of 10 because they're basically sapphire. I do believe that the aluminum oxide stones are the same hardness as the ceramic, because I think the ceramic that's in, if I remember right, the ceramic that is in a Spyderco Ultrafine or a Spyderco, it's still aluminum oxide that they use to make the ceramic. It's just been vitrified, if you will. So it's basically one solid piece. It's all combined, as opposed to a bunch of little pieces of it that kind of break up and are bound. I have an Urban Tracker from Boker coming if you want to review it. I actually reviewed the Urban Tracker a few years ago. I owned one. And I did it as a giveaway. On the channel 3 or 4 years ago. There's so many videos I've done. I mean, I could do it again. I could do it again. If you want to send it, I would definitely do it again and just kind of revisit it. Because there's a lot of times knives come in, and these days I get knives in and I have a longer period of time you have a longer period of time now, or I do, I'm sorry, to do these knives. Jared has been sending me stuff that it's not just here for a couple of days for sharpening. It's here for however long it takes me to do the review. And so with that being said, I definitely could revisit it and go back and watch my original version, my original video on it a few years ago, and then come back and see, have my opinions on it changed? It's kind of like the beg letter. I thought that I was going to love it. I thought my opinions might have changed on it a little bit. And I was like, then I got it. And I was like, yeah, I'm really into it. So first day in the pockets, I was like, this is great. Now I'm thinking, I wish I'd not gotten rid of the one I had before, but first day in pocket is like first impressions. And over time you carry it and you're like, I really don't like it that much. And then sometimes you get a knife that you're like, I don't like this knife at all. And then after a little bit of carry, you're like, all right, I'm fucking digging it. You know what I mean? So it would be kind of cool to have one in for longer than just a couple days. I have not seen that one, but I just had the Spartan Harsey. I had the Harsey in from Jared here not too long ago, and that was an amazing knife. It was an amazing knife. It was a little bit thick behind the edge, but like that edge that Jared put on it, where he laid it back and thinned that edge out and then took it to only about, I think it was probably like I want to say that was like a 200 grit edge, maybe. And I'm not gonna lie, it was aggressively sharp. That's what this is now. This only has a 200 grit edge on it because I'm testing a stone that a guy sent me, and I don't know if I like the stone. So this guy decided he was going to start making some diamond stones, and I'm not going to say anything about it because he said, don't show it. He said I could tell people that it might be coming out, but I don't know if I like it because when I first got it, I tried it a bunch, and it's almost seems like it breaks down too fast. It breaks down faster than my other diamond stones. It's like a diamond matrix stones, but it's more like an actual diamond water stone. That's what it seems like. But I don't know how I like that. And I don't know on some of these steels how it's going to hold up. I'm afraid it's going to break down. And in case you guys are wondering why we're like, we're not talking about blade shapes. Well, I don't have any more unique blade shapes over here. We already talked about all of them. So I do love this knife, though. I'm not going to lie. This, such a great knife. If you guys can find one of the Graziosos, I definitely recommend it. It is such a good knife. So what is this? What advice do you have for lapping my Vinev stone? I have the flattening and lapping kit. You know what I use? I use so I have a piece of glass that sits on my workbench. If you've ever seen my videos, the more recent ones, there's like a piece of glass underneath my mat. Well, that's my sharpening platform, is that piece of glass. Then I lay a different mat down for that. But I use the glass itself. I just take everything off. I put some water. I sprinkle some 220 grit red aluminum oxide on the glass plate. And I use that to flatten all my diamond stones, including my Vinev stones. I kind of quit using my Vinev stones because they have a tendency to leave a nasty, like black residue behind the edge that is incredibly difficult to get out. So that's how I do it. It seems to work pretty well. The Vinev stones don't seem to, but now I will tell you that they definitely recommend not using this same, like if you're using aluminum oxide stones, don't use aluminum oxide to flatten them. It's spinning your wheels. You're not using anything that is hard enough. You want something either harder or softer. So on a diamond stone, what you're doing is you're taking away the binding agent and basically putting up new diamond. But I use, oh yeah, me too. Those things are great, but I can't afford a $400 1,000 grit stone. You know what I mean? I already have so much money tied up in some of these stones. But yeah, I recommend just, if you're going to do it, just try that. It seems to work pretty well for me. And if you do it real regular, you don't have to spend as much time doing it. A lot of times, all you're doing is just basically peeling out the old steel that gets in there. And then I've stopped using the diamond stones to go up. I still take stones or knives above, up above 2000 grit, but the diamond matrix stones, when you start getting up to 2000 and 4000, I don't know why it does it, but sometimes a little flake of metal will get in the stone, and then you can hear it just click, click. And then you look at your edge that was almost mirror polished, and now there's these deep lines in it. And you're like, oh, this stone. And like, I find that it happens so much more often than I would have expected, that, like, I have to constantly be taking those stones and putting them on those stones and getting them and putting them on the plate. And then that's time consuming. So basically what I do is I have other stones that, like, as long as it's not something like a really super hard carbide, like I said, like tungsten carbide, titanium carbide, some of those other weird ones that are up above 9, they're on 9 or above, where you could run into problems with some carbide tear out. On those, I just don't take them above, that point. But for pretty much all my other steels that would come in, I have stones that I can do it with. I just feel like you get a better edge when you do it by hand. I've never had an edge that felt as crisp and as clean. I'm not gonna lie, the Wicked Edge does an okay job. Those edges are pretty good, but I don't like diamond plates. I prefer like the diamond matrix stones. I'm waiting on my daughter to FaceTime request me. So we may still do it, but I have not gotten a FaceTime request yet. So, nope. So if she's not, we'll just run this for a little bit longer. Hello. Oh, Samurai Warriors here. That's who was that was. I didn't even recognize the name. Makes great push cutters. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you could do it. If you do it like up and down, then you have pretty much like you would see on a factory edge, where those striations are straight up and down, like if you did it on a belt. So you can get away if you take your time and do it like that. Exactly. Just take your time. I mean, you already spent the money on it. It's an expense, and it's a very good precision made system. I would advise using an angle block. I don't trust that the stones are ever going to be exactly the same thickness. And so therefore I would use an angle block, because if the stone's off, then you're going to have a misaligned edge. And is it really going to affect that much in the big scope of things? For most people, probably not. But if you use your knife a lot and your edge is misaligned and it goes over one way more than the other, and you're cutting straight into something like this, it causes extra pressure, extra drag. It's going to cause force on that edge, and it's going to wear that edge out faster. It won't stay as sharp as long, and it's going to try to cut. It won't cut as straight. If you want to know the truth, you could get away with buying good stones for that $12 shitty one you see on Instagram that's clamped to a counter. It looks like they made it out of sheet metal with a little clamp on it, and then it flips. I know you guys have seen it on Instagram. That system would be perfectly fine if you used a good quality stone. My biggest problem with the Edge Pro, the stones were great. The system was well made, but it didn't have a clamp of any sort. And you had to switch hands. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. If you get one of the other ones that the whole thing flips, you just use the same stone. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's basically like, if you want to know the KME, the TS Prof, they're the same. They use different stones. That Work Sharp one, they're all the same system. They really are. Right, guys, I sharpened so much today that the meaty parts of my hand are sore. This one's still real sore, but the muscles in my hands are sore tonight because I sharpened 8 knives in that box, the 2 knives that are up there, and the 5 knives that this customer dropped off today. I sharpened a lot of fucking knives today. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I had a couple that like really were bad. I sharpened that. You guys want to know what surprised me? That beg, for as even and consistent as that knife looked, the edge, that beg Astio, I don't know whether like the grinder that they sharpened it on wasn't completely aligned or what, but it had like bellied out areas along the edge. So your stone would be touching, and then there was a hollowed out area on the very edge. And I'm like, I have to take off a lot of material to align this edge. And it literally took me a long time. I got to get a hold of the owner. I got to get a hold of, if Kim's here, Kim, I'm going to have to get a hold of you, because that one, no joke, took like 2 hours. How am I doing today? I'm doing good. You guys want to see what I sharpened today, or the bag that I sharpened today? The edge that I put on it? I put a pretty clean edge on this bag. That's what I'm doing right here. As always, a fountain of knowledge. I'm really not. It's just stuff I've picked up over time, and my brain just doesn't let shit go. Polly knows that. I am going to have to shut off the background, though, because the background is definitely going to screw this up. So that edge right there, God, that is a pretty edge. Not to toot my own horn, but fucking beat. And it is sharp. I'm not gonna lie, this knife is fucking sharp. Yes, Matthew. That's just for you, Matthew. So I'm not gonna lie, this one is actually more difficult than my Norseman. To tell you the honest truth, misplaced it again. Oh, my Norseman's around here somewhere. There it is. Okay, and I'll tell you why. That forward angle is longer. See how much shorter this is? This is a lot easier to keep on the stone. That is a much longer. What do you mean it's disgusting? That's a beautiful knife. I don't care what you say, budget. Just because it costs like around $3,000, and it is so sharp. So it's Aiden, I'll tell you the biggest thing, like the most important thing in sharpening. If you're freehand sharpening, don't lift your elbow. See what the knife does when you lift your elbow? And what happens is people will do this, and then your angle changes, and then you have that tip right there that is just blunt and won't cut anything. The biggest thing I will tell you is when you sharpen and you start to get up near the tip, don't let your elbow raise. Keep that elbow down, and you'll maintain that edge. See how that knife isn't changing? But if I do that, that is, the price is disgusting. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would probably, if I had the money, I would probably pay the price for this knife. I'm not joking. I probably would. I'm not a big fan of the mirror either. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I told the customer, I was like, there's gonna be issues with this, because I have to hold the knife like this to do that forward edge on a recurve Tonto like that. On a mirror polished blade, those stones, the grit and stuff gets on your fingers, and you can't do anything about it. And I told him, I was like, you're gonna have some cloudy areas. And he goes, I don't care. I want to be able to carry it, because it wasn't sharp. This is a daily carry for this guy. Like, this guy, no safe queens. This is a knife. It's not sharp enough. He doesn't like the way it was. He wanted it so he could carry it. I'm like, all right, bro. Hang on. I'll get a piece of paper and we'll look at it. I'll show you at paper test cut. So it's RWL 34. So it takes an incredibly crisp edge. And so it's really not hard to get a mirror polish on RWL 34 or on the edge, but will it cut? Oh, hang on. That's the tip. That tip is way thicker than the rest of the knife. So I can't ever cut on camera. So yeah, it'll. I can't ever cut on camera because I get it up too high and then I'm out of alignment. But yeah, it's hair popping sharp. That is just disgusting. What's his number so I can beg for money? Yeah, here's the thing. You're not going to want to buff that because this is satin. So trying to buff that, it's just. Jesus Christ. Fucking Jesus. People suck. Now we got to try and block that completely. So I don't fucking know. And to tell you the truth, I don't care because he's a piece of shit. Like stuff like that, that's completely unacceptable. So completely unacceptable. That's who I think it is. I won't have a channel too much longer. That was fucking ridiculous. I was trying to get it off the screen. I didn't mean to click it up. I was trying to get it taken down and get it blocked, but I don't know. We'll talk about it later. We're not going to talk about that here. You and I can talk about that offline. Because here's the thing. I don't punch down. So at least be an original troll. Eggs and Ham is here. What's up, David? That fool only got 4 tells in before you got him. What an asshat. Yeah, I'm sitting way down and I'm trying to cut up here. Like if I here, do that again. Oh fuck! I put it. No, I didn't. It's right here. It's faulty paper. It's faulty paper. I don't know what the fuck. Came in, it was probably already purged, but the name LOL. I don't think it's funny at all. I do not think it's funny at all. So do I have gout in my hands? No, I'm not a fat, greasy turd like you. I do have arthritis, though. I don't have gout. You're so gross. It will. It is slinging hairs. I don't know if you can see them. It could be wet. Who knows? That paper's been sitting in that drawer forever. I still do the thing like that's just catching and popping beard hairs right off. That's one of the best ways. I think I have a sneaking suspicion that I might know who that was. And I think John Evans might have a sneaking suspicion who that is, knows who that was too. Was this, the links some people will go to for attention is funny. The name and whatever the comments are not. Because I can only. Your opinion, which stone leaves the best bite for their grit rating? I don't know, it just depends. I mean, it depends on the steel you're sharpening and all that stuff, you know? If you want a really aggressive bitey knife, use like a DMT plate. Or I'm not gonna lie, if you're just sharpening occasionally, those ultra sharp stones that they have on, they have those ultra sharp stones. Oh, I grab them. I gotta put this back in this box anyway. They have these ultra sharp stones that they sell on Amazon, and they're not bad if you only sharpen a little. For as much as I sharpened, they didn't hold up as well because I get these in. So they come with a 300 grit and a 600 grit. And the nice thing about them, they're a little smaller. But I have noticed that they're just, you know, like I said, I sharpened almost 20 knives today. These aren't going to hold up to that. So the DMT ones seem to hold up longer. But if you're just sharpening every once in a while, the price of these is so much better than the DMT plates. Those DMT plates, the ultra sharps, are really expensive. So that's just one of those things, you know, are you only sharpening a few knives here and there, or are you like me where you have people send you boxes of knives and you got to sharpen them and get them sent back out? So it just depends. But if you want an aggressive edge, these are the way to go. They give you a different edge. The Wicked Edge gives you a really aggressive edge because it uses them. But I typically don't like that. I don't like the way that edge performs as well. Well, I mean, it performs pretty well. I think it's a different type of edge. I just don't like them as much. You know what I mean? So these are, I think I spent $40 for the set of 3. So there was a 300, a 600, and a 1200. And to tell you the truth, I honestly don't know if there was diamonds on the 1200. I don't think it really did anything. Like I tried to sharpen, I was like, it's not doing anything. And I got done. I was like, the knife feels duller than it did when I started. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna play around with that 1200 and see, but like, in all honesty, I don't know how well that's gonna work. I think the one that I always used to get, the big one, I might have to get another one, the DMT Ultra Course or Super Ultra Course. Is that what it was? I think they're like $80. And I use it just for reprofiling. And that's what I wanted those ones for. And I thought I'd give them a shot. They don't work as well. And it's only a 300 grit. So, you know, I have other stones that are much more coarse than that. I'm like, it just really didn't work out for what I want. I need something that is much more aggressive, like an 80 grit, like the super coarse. And I gotta make sure my phone's not on Do Not Disturb. I don't want to miss my daughter's call. Nope. Oh, Jeff got his knife. Jeff from Ready Man got his knife. Jeff Kirkham. I had something arrive from Japan today. Ordered it 4 days ago. Tell me how that's possible. I've had my wife send me stuff from Japan and have it be here in like 3 days, 4 days. Just depends on what plane it gets put on. If it's not like just coming floating across the ocean, a lot of times it's pretty quick. What was this? Thank you. I gotta get to bed super early. I gotta play in someone else's. I gotta go play in someone else's shit. Thanks for explaining. Oh, that's right. Matthew's a plumber. He said he's not a very good one, but he said he was a plumber. So I don't know. Take it easy, Matthew. But yeah, I've had stuff show up pretty quick from Japan. I've had stuff show up relatively fast from other places. Are they making mochi now, Mike? They make mochi year round. So they do make mochi in the winter. It's a big thing in the winter. One of my favorite things is you get the blocks of mochi and you put them in the oven and you bake them until they get crispy on the outside and they're soft. It's really good. But just so you guys know, mochi is a super high calorie food. Like those blocks of mochi, they're meant to last. So they pound the rice, and then I forget, they dry it or something. And it's literally it's like one block of mochi is like 3 bowls of rice because it's all compressed and shit like that. What is this? Thomas Connolly, check out the Spyderco Zulu. Let's do that. We'll pull up the Spyderco Zulu. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I remember this one. I remember this one. Let's pull it up. If you guys haven't seen it, am I going to do some sharpening videos this weekend for the premium tier paying members? Yeah, I'm going to do a stone. We're going to talk about a stone, how to use a Nagura stone on water stones. Chrome tab. Let's pull up this share. Can you guys see that? That is the Spyderco Zulu. That's a really weird looking blade. I've seen those. I mean, I guarantee they would be really effective for cutting that sweep cut, like almost like a skinning blade. It would be really effective for like meat processing and things like that. Spyderco Tough was not really the blade shape on a Spyderco Tough wasn't really that much. The part that was unusual, it was the rest of the knife. Pull one of those up. Tough. Spyderco Tough. That's let me pull this up. Share screen, Chrome tab, Spyderco Tough. Now this is a Shemp design. I never was a fan of this knife. It's really bulky. It's really thick. It's not ergonomic. Let's just go ahead and say it and call it what it is. It's ugly. It's fucking ugly. This really, that's a fucking fever dream right there. I'm tired of looking. I don't even want to look at that. I don't even look at that. Let's stop looking at that. The Zulu was Anso. That's what I thought. I think I saw that and I was like, I think you're right. What's your opinion on Zerkatai? Are you talking in handles and stuff? The like the black Timascus, the Zerk and tie? Is that what you're talking about? Not the first ugly Spyderco. This is true. This is true. As a matter of fact, there aren't a lot of pretty Spydercos. Really, if you want to know the truth, I haven't seen a lot of attractive Spydercos. I will say, because I've said it before, the handle on the Endura series is the most comfortable handle of any knife. Like I said, like if I had to Frankenstein a knife together, it would be this handle with some other blade in it. I'm not such a great big fan of the Endura blade shape. I'm a really big fan of the handle. Super ergonomic. I have not gotten to see the 20.5, but I definitely like the 80/20. The original ones, I loved them. Like I had one come in for sharpening, and I had one come in from Jared for review, and I was like, man, I like these. I do. I like the 80/20 a lot. So the 80/20.5, I'm not sure. I like the titanium handle version. I'm a big fan of titanium handles. You know what I mean? Even if it's titanium, even if it's only partially titanium. I just like titanium. It's light, it's strong, and just, I don't know, like FRN handles aren't bad, but they feel plasticky and cheap because, well, they're fucking plastic. That's why I don't understand why Spyderco knives are so expensive. That's plastic. That's a plastic molded handle. That should not be that expensive. That one is, well, let's pull that one up too. The Kapara. Pull that one up. Kapara. Images. That actually is a knife I completely forgot about, because that is actually a really nice looking knife. I'll pull it up. I was just trying to find a full screen picture. Yeah, I don't dislike the black Timascus. I like Zerk. I have a couple knives here, custom knives that are in Zerk, and it's attractive. It is attractive. Now I have set zirconium on fire by accident. There you go. That's not an ugly knife. That is not an unattractive knife at all. I forgot completely about this knife. I forgot that was part of Spyderco's lineup, and that is not a bad looking knife. So what is this? I just got a 20.5, got to get some new scales, but I like the lock in action. Yeah. Have I talked about the Chinese Microtech? I have not. Deadpool Lee. I mean, I have in the past. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, the whole point, like, is like, I understand where Tony was going with it. That is their like most, like the SOCOM is like their most sought after model. And the fact is, if you've seen how how Microtech does their shit, they only do a certain number of knives of a type, and then they go to another one and they do those knives, and then they do another one and they do those knives, and basically have to retool the shop all over again each time and start over. And that's why they come out in batches. And since everyone wants the SOCOM to hit the demand, he's doing a production version of it. Well, an overseas version of it that, from what I've seen, looks really good. I don't, like I said, everybody's like, oh, Mike's a Chinese knife shill. I take every knife at face value. If it's a good knife, it's a good knife. I don't care where it was made. I would much rather have good knives coming from the United States. The problem is a lot of times we're not getting those because of the price and stuff like that. Would I like to see them all made here? Yeah, I would love to see every Microtech made here. I love Microtechs. I love the fact that they're American made. I've formed a relationship with people that work there. I know all of Tony's sons. And I know Tony, and he's a good guy. And I think that the whole point of doing it and having that knife and doing it overseas was he wanted to provide, he wanted to provide the customers with the knife they wanted in a fashion that did not affect him having to make multiple batches and change what else they were trying to put out. The Chinese SOCOM Bravo is right side tip up. Well, I mean, when you send something out to be made, because so like this knife, when I make a custom, it's going to be different, because the fact is, if I make the exact same knife, we're stepping on each other's toes, right? So my knife doesn't have jimping. The handles are different. The handles are cut different. There's definite differences between a custom sea snake and a production sea snake. So you have to make some changes, and you have to make things a little different, or you're kind of in violation of your contract. You know what I mean? SOCOM Bravo on the secondary market is stupid expensive. I don't want to, here's the thing, Tom, I don't want to look at any more Spydercos. I just ate. Well, this is the last, we'll look at this last Spyderco. What is this one? Let's close these other ones. Spyderco. I do like that Capara though. What is it? Spyderco what? Tropen? All right, let's give this a look. Let's give it a look. See what we see. Oh man, I'm afraid to look. Oh God, I've seen this one. This is ridiculous. I like that. Oh God, you guys are about to see that. Oh God, that I just let out. It's like, I'm pretty sure I just threw up in my own mouth. Let's go ahead and do this. You guys ready? Try not to scream too loud. You might scare your children. That is fucking hideous. Of course you would. Of course you would. I bet you love that warrior knife that they have. The warrior fixed blade. I bet that's right up your alley. Straight up hentai. That's straight up ass to mouth right there. That's what that is. Guys, you never go ass to mouth. No. Ever. That is fucking hideous. Look at the compression lock on the Tropan. Yeah, I know. That's what I've seen it. Like if you close it too, like you actually will touch the blade. Holy hell. The holy hell is that, Mike? Michael R says. Yeah, that's the Spyderco Tropan. Have you guys okay, we're gonna look at one more because this is the one I just mentioned. Spyderco Warrior. God, it's fucking hideous too. Let me see if I can find it on Knife Center. Knife Center usually Knife Center has the best pictures. Like I hate to admit it, I hate to say it, but I don't. They don't have it on. They have it on Blade HQ, but we'll pull this up. This is that Spyderco Warrior fixed blade. Oh God, that's so bad. Here it comes. You guys ready? Yeah, I would hope so. Everybody should because they're horrible if you don't. All right, you guys ready? Here comes the Spyderco Warrior fixed blade. If you haven't seen it, I said please not try not to make too much of a loud noise. I don't want you to scare any of your children. That, and it's in here's on top of that. You ready? It's an H1 steel. They could have just made it out of fucking tin cans. The edge would be about as good. It's horrible. I'm like, oh, it's H1 steel. It's a really good steel. It's gonna work harden over time. I'm like, how about you just have a steel that's already hardened instead of me having to like do shit with it. So it's not like that's fucking horrible. Ew. Yeah, bull. You know you like that. Speaking of sea snake, I have the tan handle one, but I think the blacked out version is in my future. I have the blacked out. Oh, sorry. I have the blacked out version. And then when we ever hit 100 subscribers, I have a serialized sea snake that is the $160 special edition sea snake. So let's get this. Let's stop that screen. That's horrible. Flea Market Rambo. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Is Flea Market Rambo Spyderco United Cutlery collab. I talked about United Cutlery the other day with somebody. I was like, if it wasn't, when I was a teenager, yeah, we had all kinds of United Cutlery stuff. It was the goofy fantasy knives and stuff. And I have the Gibbon double shadow dagger that I got here this year because I had points on Knife Center. But like when I got into the Navy and then when I got out, I didn't get back into like I didn't have that natural progression where I went from shit knives to cheap knives to better knives to expensive knives to custom. No, I jumped right into the super expensive knives. And I was like, I'm kind of going the opposite direction. I had these ultra expensive, like Polly likes to, like every time I get a knife in, I send him a picture. He's like, how much? And I'm like, yeah, it's like $3,000. And he's like, how much? And I'm like, I can see that. But I did that. I bought the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 knives. And then I kind of got to where then I kind of stepped into the production stuff that Microtech that I got and the Reat Horizon D showed me that there's some really good production level knives at the $400 and $500 mark that I could get into that were really, really good, if not better than some of my other custom knives. And then now I've gotten into where I'm into some of these budget knives. Like I have some knives that I have some $30 and $40 knives that I would put up against not modern customs, but I would put some of these $30 and $40 knives that I'm seeing now up against knives that I saw 5-10 years ago that were $500-$600. They're every bit as good. And, I know that they're coming out of China. I know that's why they're so much cheaper. But the fact is, there's some really good quality knives out there at a much lower price point that are just knocking out of the park. So what kind of Frankenstein Spyderco crap is that? That was that Spyderco Warrior. It was a fixed blade that they designed, and they got a bunch of martial artists together and some other guys together, and they came up with like a hybrid design of stuff. And when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh, it's a good idea. Like get everybody together and take the best points of what they think a fighting knife should be. And I'm like, oh, I heard them talking about it. And then I saw it come out and I was like, oh, that's That's fucking hideous. So yeah, now is a really good time. Man, how times have changed. I remember buying $100 knives that sucked. People got it good nowadays. They do. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's to the point where it's kind of hard to find a shitty knife unless you go looking for it. Like most of the knives that like I've seen recently, they've all been really, really good. So $2,000 hinders. What are you talking about, Aiden? I got your hinderer here. I got your hinderer here, and I got to get a hold of you and figure out what you want me to do. Aiden, I need you to email me or text me so we can talk about what you want me to do with that knife. Stop talking about hinders. I have Brand in here. He's probably in here. He's just not listening. Thoughts on MagnaCut? I tell you, if I'd had one in for sharpening, I haven't handled it. I saw the Tactical Knife Company, that little thumb stud one that I can't think of the name of it now. Reminded me a lot of it's real similar to the Waypoint, but I haven't gotten to sharpen anything in that. That's like some of these steels. I just have not gotten anything in to be able to, like, I would love to be able to answer you guys. Yeah, it sharpens up great. It's real similar to this and stuff like that. But it's, I haven't gotten any in to sharpen. So Rockwall, there you go. Thank you. Problem is there's so many good knives, I can't buy them all. And Samurai had the answer for it. The Rockwall. Make it look pretty. Okay, well, it's a hinder. It's going to be hard. I mean, you can only polish a turd so far. I'm just kidding. I like Rick's knives. That one actually is not bad. That's a pretty good knife. Came across the $37,000 knife, folding knife center one day. I held a $12,000 ProTech at Cali Custom Show. And I held a $30,000 knife at Larry's table. Buddy Larry has some crazy shit. Larry sells knives, I think is his Instagram. You should go check out his Instagram. He has got some crazy shit that he sells. He brings it to shows. He has like Japanese swords and spears, and it's just crazy stuff that he has. And he's got like $10,000, $12,000 knives, $30,000 knives. He has a $30,000 pirate knife in his case that he showed. AV Joe, I've said it before. If you turn the sea snake into a flipper, you basically wind up with a skinny Master Blaster, which I'm not going to do that because it would be way too reminiscent of Elliot's design, the Master Blaster. And I just don't want to do that. He's my friend. So, and that's 3 times the cost of my truck. Holy shit. Yeah. Like literally. I mean, shit, I take them in the house now. I keep these in the house locked up, not in the garage, because if somebody breaks into the garage, they're not getting anything but like the stuff that's out here, maybe my sharpening stuff. But there's nothing out here that's valuable, really. At the end of the day, I take it all inside. But before they go out on Monday, I've probably got $50,000 worth of knives in here from customers for sharpening and stuff. And then the stuff that Jared sends, Twin 1911's Meteorite. Yeah, that's crazy. No, this knife that he has, it's like $30,000, dates back to it dates back like a couple hundred years. It's like a 200-year-old knife. It's a historical knife. It's an all original. It's got sail material that's on it as handle material. The handles are wrapped. And so it's not like somebody has like, oh, I just bought a $30,000 folding knife. This is like this is something that would belong in a museum typically. You've never seen that budget? So the iron nickel meteorites, they take those and they add them to powdered steel, and make a Damascus core, and it gives it, like, they fold it on itself, and then you have meteorite. So you have a meteorite bladed knife. As a matter of fact, one of the original Bowie knives was made out of a meteor. an iron nickel meteor. And you get some weird crystallization marks and stuff that's in meteorite that you don't get in other materials. The problem is the problem is it can be really brittle to make an entire knife out of. So you have to be really careful. Green Beetle made a knife out of meteorite one time. Put Gucci on and watch it sell. Yeah, it's I don't know how meteorite would be as a material for a knife, but the fact is it's beautiful because you can see you actually see the crystals of the metal inside the material. And so it gives it such an incredible look. But from what I've seen, it is so hard to actually forge and use and things like that. Be the example. Happy New Year's, Michael. Is your Warrenclyffe Master Blaster for sale? If not, is there any place I could try to track one down? You're just going to have to keep looking, like Arizona Custom Knives. Mine will never be for sale. It was a gift. It was a gift from my buddy Tino and my buddy Matt. There's no way I will ever sell that. So no, mine is not for sale, and it won't ever be for sale. So I would say Arizona Custom Knives, watch there, a couple other places that do secondary knives. Get a hold of Matt, I think, over at Slice, and see what he says. He might be able to track one down for you. I will ask around. Be the example. Shoot me an email down below, and I will ask around my friends and see if anyone has one. I know that Nico has two now. So if you want, just shoot me an email. My email address is in the description of all my videos. Just shoot me an email and I will try to see if anybody's interested, or shoot me a text to the business line. Budget knife guy. So literally meteorite. No, it's actually made out of meteorite, and it's so expensive. New people getting into the hobby will never remember the good old the BDK, Bud K. I never had Bud K. I was always a Smoky Mountain Knife Works and Frost Cutlery guy when I was coming up. Just, the garbage shit that we bought back then. So somebody said that there was a story behind something earlier in the chat, and I don't remember what we were talking about. Like, there's a story behind that. I'd be interested to hear it. And I was thinking I would tell that story. So if anybody remembers what it was we were talking about, that you're like, yeah, I'm curious to hear the story about that, I will tell that before we go. But what time is it? Oh, it's 9:30. It's almost time to end anyway. So maybe we won't get to that story. But this has been fun. There's 33 people here. The live feeds have been doing a lot better. I would appreciate if you guys hit the like button. I can't see how many likes we've got. I know that there's definitely not as many likes as there are viewers. So, oh, the Zerk fire story. Yeah, I can tell that one really easy. So let me read this first. I truly wish my dad cared more about knives and tradition. Got a Coast knife out of his stuff. Are you talking Coast cutlery? Starting my craving for steel. Okay, the Zerk fire story. So, when I was working up at Elliot's shop, one of the first few times I was making knives, and it was just me and Elliot, and like, he wasn't like, I'd done enough stuff that he was like, hey, just use the machine. He had done some zirconium pieces for something. I think he was refurbishing one of his old original custom knives, but he had cut some zirconium on the grinder, and zirconium dust is extremely flammable. And so there was a little pile of like dust and shit and shavings, and there was some titanium shavings from where Elliot had drilled some titanium back in the back. He'd used some wood to stable it, and he drilled it and bored out some holes and stuff. And so there's this little pile, and I was cutting 1095. And 1095, I don't know if you've ever ground 1095 on a belt grinder. It's like fireworks. It's fucking sparks. And so I'm grinding, and I look, and all of a sudden I realize there's a fire on the workbench, and it was so bright and hot I couldn't see it. And I used a metal file, and I knocked it out into the middle of the concrete floor, and it was so freaking hot that like, it was so bright and hot, you couldn't even look at it because it was titanium and zirconium all mixed together in the dust. And I just like, so I've got this zirconium fire in the middle of the grinding room and I'm yelling, I'm like, Elliot. And he comes in and he goes, oh yeah. He's like, you got a good one there. He's like, just don't look at it. Don't look at it. It's like looking at a welder. And I was like, what do we do? How do we put it out? He goes, oh no, you don't. It burns. It's just going to burn until it's done. And there was a spot where it was so hot that like, there was like a bowled out area in the fucking concrete where it was just ashed, it like burned into the concrete. And I was like, my God. And he goes, yeah, I wouldn't step on that spot for a little bit because it's going to melt your shoe. I was like, have you done this before? He's like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. He's like, as long as you don't get a big fire. He's like, we got a fire. It's like, you don't want a big fire. He's like, but we had it. I mean, I was like, man, I almost burned down the fucking shop. And he goes, it happens. He's like, it'll be okay. And I was like, couldn't you use a fire extinguisher on it? He goes, no. It won't go out. He's like, it just keeps burning. It's not thermite, but they do use zirconium as an initiator in a lot of explosive devices, like bombs and stuff like that. So zirconium is a very, very hot. It burns very, very hot, and it's really easy to initiate it. So for a lot of incendiary devices and explosive devices, it's used as the initiating device. So guys, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of my daughter. It's been like 2 hours. This has been fun. I love you. This is the first time I've seen your stream. Thank Jared. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You want to see a good one? We did one on New Year's Eve with Cole. And any of the ones I've done with Polly, any of the ones I've done with anyone else as a guest have always been great. But I'm not going to lie to you. I think my favorite one, the one I had the most fun with, was on New Year's Eve with Cole from Tri-State ADC. It was great. It was a lot of fun. I think that was the most memorable, to the point where we did a 4-hour live feed. We did a 4-hour live feed and it didn't seem like it. It was like by the time it ended, I was like, where's everybody going? Or like, it's fucking 4 o'clock in the morning where I'm at, dude. And I was like, oh, it is. It's midnight. So I went from 8:30 my time to midnight my time. And Cole was there from like midnight his time till midnight my time. So we really did have a blast. So if you guys want to check out a replay, a live feed, that's a good one. And like I said, any of the ones where I have Polly, go follow Polly, Purple Heart Barbecue. He's really trying to get his channel to go. He's an Army veteran. He's Purple Heart winner. He's a lot of fun. Go follow his channel. He does a lot of stuff. He's on Instagram. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. He's on TikTok. It's all Purple Heart Barbecue. So go follow him. He's a lot of fun. Polly's a nut. He's a lot of fun. I always love it when he comes on here. I wouldn't invite him on tonight, but I had a topic in mind, and I knew that having Polly here would definitely make that impossible to try and do. So, yeah, there you go. Is that Purple Heart Barbecue there? And then also Bushcraft Bodybuilder, my buddy Sam. He's building a channel and he's really trying hard, and he's trying to do he's trying to figure out like, okay, this video did well. Why did it do well? He's like really getting into the nuts and bolts of the YouTube thing. I'm trying to see what's going on. And I wanted to ask you guys before we go, because there's still like 26 of you guys here. Do you guys want weekend content? Because I don't want to go to the trouble of putting stuff up on Saturdays and Sundays if you're not going to see it, if you're not going to watch it, because it actually hurts you on the algorithm if you're posting things. And if you're posting things and people aren't watching it, will actually hurt you. It actually detracts from how you're doing. So if you guys want weekend content, let me know. I'm going to keep asking. Because I don't have a problem making the content, but it's got to be something like we have to watch it. Like if I'm putting up content and no one watched it, I've burned an upload, and the algorithm doesn't like that. So I have to take it back down, re-upload it, and stuff like that. And I'm not doing live stream on weekends. I'm not going to do live streams on weekends. I will possibly do movie day on Sunday. Keep an eye out on the community tab. I'm going to start putting stuff again up on the community tab. I've just been busy. I had a lot of stuff I had to take care of. The wife and kid have been gone. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm not going to get ass fucked on taxes this year because we sold that house. So follow me on Full 30. You can follow me on Rumble. I have a Rumble channel. I only have one video up there. It's the day one of Blade Show West. But it's, I think it's Michael Emler, all one word. So that's good. On full30.com, I'm going to start putting up some exclusive content. I do have political opinions. We just don't talk about them here. So if you guys want to, you can follow me there. I already have some videos up there. I have some exclusive stuff. I do pew content from time to time there. Oh, speaking of which, once again, don't forget Olight has got their sale going on from the 13th to the 14th, from like 8 p.m. on the 13th to midnight on the 14th. They've got all kinds of stuff. This is one of their newer items. This is that pew green laser sight that they have, and you're not gonna be able to see that because it's just basically gonna look like there's a hole in my hand. But it also has, this has a 2-setting flashlight. Magnetically chargeable, and it mounts on a rail of a pew. And like I said, the green dot laser is really, really good on it. And I actually have I had the red dot. I now have a green dot. I've actually taken the range, and they don't lose their dope. So if you've got it dialed in for where you want it, which mine is set for about 15 yards, which is about as far as I would have to use a pew in my house, it doesn't seem to drift after a few. Sometimes after a couple rounds, those laser sights has a tendency to shift. Those do not. They're locked in tight. The red one was great. The red one should be coming back. I managed to break it. So first Olight I've been able to break, and I actually broke it, and it's been with them and they're repairing it. So I broke one of the, I can't show you the pew or I'll get taken down. I broke one of the little switch arms, so it would just stay on. And so and at the same time, the laser broke. And so the only way to turn it off and not have it burn itself up was to just leave it on the laser. So yeah, I managed to break one, but it took some doing. So guys, that's it. I'm out. I love you all. I got to finish doing some stuff. I may actually film a video tonight because I drank a Monster or NOS Energy about fucking 3 hours before we started this. And now I'm not sleepy. So, guys, take it easy. Keep it clean in the comments section. Go find all my other videos. I put up a video today, 5 knives that are too big to carry, ? 5 fast knives too big to carry. And it wasn't like too big, like they're too heavy or anything like that Monster Halo 5 that they had. So I will have a great weekend. Thank you very much, AV Joe. I love getting to ring the bell. It means I made a little bit of money. Guys, like I said, giveaway. We're doing a giveaway this month of a brand new inbox knife. I said last thing on the way out, if you guys are not a paying member, you may want to look at it. I'm doing this Cazador folder, brand new. I only ever cut a little bit of paper and did a little bit of outline cutting through cardboard just so that I could give it an honest, hey, yeah, it cuts pretty good. But it is a great little knife, and I'm giving it away this month to the paying members. So if you want to get in on the free giveaways, you got to be a paying member. So guys, I love you all. Take it easy. I'm going to see you probably Monday. Maybe tomorrow, if I put up content, you guys might see a video go up tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see what I can all get filmed. So later, guys.